Well, let's take a look at what other kind of details we can add to the front. We're already building it up pretty well. It's beginning to look fairly detailed, at least from a distance there. But I think there's more connecting pieces we should add. And what I mean by that, let me press Control Spacebar and let's take a look at this full screen here. I feel like there's more that we can do with this dual cylinder piece that we created some time ago. I feel like it goes back. We could maybe extrude it back into the bumper here and also give it a connection so it has some sort of a loop or bracket connecting to that tube. You can see it over here. I feel like we need that. In addition, there's this piece here, and this also seems to connect with that bar as well. So just some connecting pieces so that bar isn't just floating out in space. In addition, I think, I don't know, maybe this right here, I think, is a nice connecting piece in that it kind of grounds this piece to that part of the bumper as well. There's, of course, lots of things we could add here, but I don't want to just go ahead and add a bunch of things that we don't need. I want to just add it piece by piece and see if we have enough visual interest to call it good enough and move on. Because we're still having to think about poly count here. All right, well, let's see what we can do here. I think also, actually, now that I look at it, that piece we've extruded down here isn't quite in line with the other parts of the cab here. So let's before we go any further in the front, let's just fix this. And as I said, this happens. You're going to try and fill in one space and then have to adjust to connect it to another part. So let's just grab this edge and move it in so it's kind of in line with this edge right here. And then maybe I should go ahead and add an edge loop in here. Grab that edge and let's then move this in and move it up so it kind of mirrors that angle there. Something like that. So you see what I'm doing here is I'm just trying to fill in the space, in some areas trying to do it without drawing attention to it, and in other areas, like up here in the front, we do want to have the visual detail that draws the eye. So we're kind of balancing the two things here. Let me grab this and just move it down just a smidge. Since we moved this in to make room for the shock absorber here, I feel like we've split it apart from this panel. This panel, if I recall, needs to go all the way in. So I'll Alt-click this edge and push this in like that, all the way in there. And now we've got to readjust these. So you see what I mean? It's just kind of a constant filling in, reconnecting, readjusting here. So I'm going to pull this down about like that. And then maybe this one here, we can, we can pull this back up like that to kind of get it in line. There we go. Yeah, so that kind of fills in and connects that part there. Yeah, so we'll just keep doing that as we go, building out the details, filling in where we need to. So let's work on this piece right here. I think that's this. And I'm going to go ahead and work on this side since we're viewing it from this side in the reference image. And then we can just duplicate it and move it over. So it looks to me like if we grabbed faces on the back here, I think we could then just pull back or even extrude. Let's try it. I'm going to grab these right here and let's just pull back like this. Something like that. Just kind of even these out a bit. And then what we should do is try and extrude back, I think, or at least pull back. Let's see if we can. Maybe I'll just pull back. I'll grab these faces in here like this, and this, and this. And let's just try and pull back into the bumper there. So there it is in there. It's kind of ugly, but that's okay. I'll select all of these faces and delete them because we don't need them since they're going to be unseen in there. And I'll just grab this edge and maybe pull it up just a bit so it kind of completes the shape there. So that's what I'm trying to do there. You can see it just kind of goes into the bumper. That's what I'm trying to get. Although now that I look at it, it also looks like all of these pull out as well. And then that's where the bracket comes down from. Well, let's give this a try. So what I'm going to do now is grab faces, and we'll extrude out of here. Here and here. And let's try and extrude out of here. Let me hit E, and then I'm going to drag back in the Y. And let's do that, and then I'll press SY to flatten them up a bit like that. There we go. So I think I just want to pull those back into here. There we go. And maybe I'll grab that edge right there, right in here, and pull it down. So yours may be a little bit different than what I'm doing here, and that's fine. What we're doing is we're just trying to figure out how to fill the space, how to connect the objects. So one, we don't have empty spaces, and two, we don't have objects just kind of hanging out in space. All right, so now that I've got this part, it looks like I shouldn't have it intersecting with that pole quite as much as I do, but I don't think that matters. Let me see what we can do here. Grab that. I don't think I mind that, actually. Yeah, I don't think I really mind that. We could just move these up a bit, but generally speaking, I think that's okay. There we go. Okay. Now what let's do is just create a little bracket right there underneath that. To do that, we could be kind of clever here and grab this thing, and let's just use the polygons of this to create that bracket. Let's just Alt-click this and press Shift-D and X, and we'll move it around over here. So we're going to kind of cheat a bit. I'll hit S and X and kind of bring that in. And then let's split it out as its own object. I'll kind of scale it up just a bit before I do, something like that. And then let's go ahead and hit P and choose Separate by Selection. Now it's its own object, and we can select it. I can tab into Edit Mode and take a look at some of these faces here. I don't think we need these faces inside here. I can delete those. And then we can maybe grab an edge or two and move them around. Although, let's take a look at it. I don't know that we need to. We can move that up a bit. Yeah, and move it forward. Maybe take this edge here and move that in like that. So it just kind of connects up. And then we could add a solidify modifier to it. Control A, scale, even thickness, and we'll just reduce the thickness just a bit there. There we go. Let's combine it with this object here, but before we do that, we need to go ahead and apply that modifier. I'll just click Apply over here, and then select that and Control J, and that'll add that to that object. Now let's go ahead and just duplicate this over to the other side. What we can do is just delete this, and then grab this, duplicate it, and hit Enter. And then if we hit the N key, we can come over here and just change the location in the X. So currently it's a negative number. I can take away that negative there and hit Enter, and that'll pop that over to the other side of the X-axis. So this is yet another reason why it's important, I think, to model around the center of the grid. There are just so many helpful things that you can do like this and using the mirror modifier, etc. It just makes sense to model your objects around the center of the grid. Okay, so we've got that in there. What let's do now is add this little piece. I just feel like this is a nice connecting piece right there. Let's try and add that real quick. I'm going to tab into Edit Mode and just select that face and move the cursor with Shift S2. And then let's go ahead and create a cylinder real quick. Cylinder. I'll take the sides down to 12. And I'm going to reduce the size of it here while I'm in the settings. I'll change the radius to 0.1, and I'll change the depth to 0.1 as well. And so we have this. It's just a little more manageable. And I'll change the cap fill to triangle fan. Okay, so now let's press RY90. I'll scale it down, and I'm trying to get this thing right there. Can we see it over on the other side? Yeah. That thing right there. I'll scale it down. I want to create this little piece or this little part that's expanding on the back there. Just like we've done before, I'm going to select 4 faces here and hit E, and I'll just pull straight out. I'll flatten them with S and Y. I'll scale them up in the Z like this, and then I'll delete them here because we don't need those. And then I'll just slide this back in like this. Now let's see if we can get this the right width with S and X. And then let's put it in place about like this. Yeah, it looks like it really should come out. Let's take these two. Well, I don't want to really pull them out because I've got those braces. So I'll go ahead and just scale this down just a little bit, and let's bring it out. I'm going to go to the wireframe in the side view, and let's kind of put it like this. And maybe we could take this whole thing and move it back just a smidge. Like this, right? And then that gives us a little bit more room for this guy. Okay. Now let's put a bolt on there. So to put a bolt on there, I don't want to have to make another one. I could actually come over here and steal one off of this, couldn't I? Let me tab into edit mode, and I'll press the L key and grab these two. I'll duplicate it. I'll move it out just a bit. I'll press the P key and separate it. Now if we tab back into object mode, there it is. I can move the origin back to the geometry, and when I do, I realize there's a mirror modifier on it. So let's take the mirror modifier off, and there it is. All right, so let's move it up, and I'm going to look at it from the side view here, and let's kind of move it into place right up here. And then let's go to the front view and move it into place over here like this, right? So we're getting that bolt right there. And then what let's do is duplicate it, spin it in the Z-axis, RZ. No, we want RZ 180. And then let's bring it over here. So there we have a bolt on either side. I could maybe grab this one here and move it in a bit like that. And let's take this, and let's go ahead and join them together with Control J. And let's make sure smoothing is on. There we go. Yeah, so we've got those in there now. I feel like these bolts could be a little bit smaller. Let's do that real quick. Like that. I just want them a little bit smaller like that. There we go. All right. Move that cursor back. And so now what we could do is put that over on the other side as well. So let's take that whole object and duplicate it and move it over. We're going to need to do some spinning around here. So first of all, let's spin it in the Z, RZ 180. And then let's spin it around the X-axis, RX 180. And we can do that. Now let's put it in place. Oh no, I need to spin it around in the Y. Let me do that. RY 180. There we go. Now let's put it in place. Like here. And then I'll take this and yeah, let's just move that in just a little bit like that. There we go. Okay, so we've got those connecting now. those pieces connecting to each other. I still want to make a bracket or something here that connects to that pole or that bar. But I think we're getting pretty close. I think if we add that, we've got a nice amount of detail in there. So let's add that and take another look at it and see where we are.